I think we're live. Sweet. Hey everybody, welcome to the Mushroom Makers Judgment Panel stream, where we are going to go through submissions to Mushroom Makers, an open source Houdini competition with $10,000 in cash prizes, and decide the winners. We're joined by Max Spurlock from Mythica, Irina Pereira from Unleashed Games, and Mikhail Mascarera from Turtle Tech Art. Welcome, guys. It is super exciting to have y'all here.
Hey, dudes.
Thank you for having us.
Mushroom.
Snake.
I have my mushroom disco ball ready to go.
This is what I came here for. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday, everybody. We've had some really awesome tech artists working on HDAs for like almost 2 months now, and submitting it to us. Everything that you are going to see here today is open source and available for you to use and play with and put in your commercial projects and put in your personal projects and change to your heart's desire at api.mythica.gg. That's our website with a ton of open source tools that we make, that other people make, that are sponsored by these competitions. We are very excited about it. And we also are joined. I mean, I just want to shout out our amazing guests first. Irina from Unleashed Games. Unleashed sponsored this competition. We are actually going to be using many of the mushrooms that you see here today in upcoming levels in Unleashed MMO Haven.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what we're actually really excited about. We're working out a way to build a demo zone that features these lovely mushies that win, so that maybe in a couple of weeks on our game, you'll be able to, see us playing through a level built by you all. Like we, inspired by Mythica, we've really embraced this idea of like open source. And what does it look like when we're all part of the story? And I love this pathway of y'all, building for the best mushrooms, and then we get to turn that into a game. Like, what a cool loop!
Yeah, I mean, I personally believe that both open source and procedural are totally like cornerstones of the future of video game development. So combining them both, and then yeah, like open sourcing back to the community, like anything that is made, in conjunction with these tools then gets open source back, and then it becomes this flywheel of exciting opportunity. Irina, we're stoked to have you here. And Mikhail, Turtle Tech Art is a huge organization at this point. You guys have a ton of awesome students making sweet procedural tools and all kinds of fun stuff. Do you want to give us like the 2-minute pitch on that?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Sam. So essentially, I'm currently a student, but starting when I started Turtle Tech Art, which if you didn't know is a community where we focus on everything tech art, whether it's procedural generation, shaders, or other areas. And the goal is to ultimately help break down barriers for anyone that wants to get into tech art. So for example, in this case, trying to help break down barriers for people who want to learn Houdini, who want to learn procedural generation and introduce it into their workflows, and overall foster that into a community where you can connect with other people and like learn from each other. And yeah, thank you for having me, Sam. Like I think I was participated in Canopy Crafters, the last competition, so I'm glad to be back.
You did, yes. We did a previous competition, Canopy Crafters, where instead of mushrooms, it was trees, and Mikhail actually was one of the winners. He won. I think you and your partner Endless Set won $2,000 together.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, guys! Like cool stuff going on.
Congratulations!
I appreciate it.
A proof point right here for how cool this competition is.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? Like those trees are available. Happy trees on api.mythica.gg. Mikhail made them. Go check them out. Download them. Put them in your game. Great. So why don't we jump into it? Why don't we start looking at some mushrooms?
Yeah.
So I think I've got everyone's submissions here. We've got the Mythica team submissions up here, which we can go through at the end.
Yeah, the Mythica, we have some of our tech artists at Mythica made some mushrooms for fun. Those are not in contention. They cannot win. They will not get any money. They will not be the winners. But they might be really cool mushrooms, so that's exciting.
And importantly, they're on our website for people to use, right?
Yes, and importantly, they are on our website for people to use, api.mythica.gg.
Okay, so this is Sarah Kate's one. Just as a roundup, I've just grabbed everyone's HCAs, put them into Houdini because it's going to be the easiest way for us to go through them rather than trying to fight Unreal at the moment.
Whose shroom is this, Max?
This is Sarah Kate's.
I have Skate Casey here. Is that right? Is it called Funky
So.
Shrooms?
Funky Shrooms.
Yep, Funky Shrooms.
This is the best day of streaming ever. Reviewing shrooms. Sorry.
All right, let's jump in and check it out.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, that's what we got here. Custom shroom. Clustering does. Multiple ones coming in. Nice to see UVs on them as well.
Okay, so we have a slider that makes more mushrooms and kind of like clusters them closer and farther apart.
Yeah. See the seed. Ooh. Got controls for the stem. Let me just quickly. Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna make the UI a little bit bigger. Because I realize I'm streaming this off a 4K. Where are we? Apologies. There we go.
I can also do this, and now it's bigger.
Oh, you got it bigger on the.
Yeah, I made it bigger on the screen.
Okay, that helps. I mean, mainly for me. Otherwise, you'd get me like super close to the laptop, squinting with my vision. Let's have a look. See here. So we got stem length. Nice. Looks like it's doing a good job at re-UVing them as it's going up in the scale.
Oh yes, yeah, so the UVs kind of like recreate themselves as you move around. Yeah, Max, you're gonna have to walk us through a little bit on like the technical side as we do that part of the assessment.
So it's redoing the UVs, which is cool. You got some bending that can happen. Let's back up here. Nice view of this. Oh, always some interest in that. Up the noise frequency, get real crazy. I guess this is for ID mapping. So we can change the color of the stems for baking out ID maps.
Oh, sweet. Okay. And I want to call out too that we do have a rubric for how we evaluate the mushrooms. So we should be thinking about that from the beginning. I probably should have mentioned that at the very top. But we're sort of like we're scoring each of these up from 1 to 10 on 4 different categories. So those categories are aesthetic quality, performance, variability, and ease of use. And I'll kind of be keeping track of that so that we can sort of like have a sense for it at the very end, and that'll help us decide, the winners in various categories. And the various categories, for those who do not know or remember, they are best overall, best stylized, best photorealistic, best student, and community choice. And community choice, we're going to be playing in the chat for that. So stick around, guys, and we're going to help you. So let's like start from like rubric 1. Let's go aesthetic quality. I think these look pretty cool. They're pretty nice cappy mushrooms. I feel like if I saw these in the woods, I'd be like, oh, it's a cool mushroom. Irina, you're our local mushroom expert here. How do you feel about the aesthetics going on?
I'm a big fan of this particular mushroom shape because it's very relatable, and you've got the standard Amanita kind of appearance, and it's kind of configurable. The mushrooms, I like how they cap out You can actually replicate lots of different genus of mushrooms with this emitter. Like, this is cool. The skirt's a little bit funky right there because there's like one going in reverse. I'm not sure about that. But in terms of accuracy, if you wanted to fill a forest floor with a bunch of mushies, like this would be a go-to, absolutely. So yeah, aside from that double cone, is that like a snufter, or like what do you serve, or a measuring thing for drinks?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
No, I was trying to remember the word. It's like jug or something like that, or I don't remember.
And yeah, a
Max
jigger.
did do a little bit of a mushroom research as he was trying to make his own mushroom maker. Okay, cool. So and Miko, let's weigh in a little bit. Aesthetics, how you feeling?
Honestly, I love what's going on with the mushroom cap and being able to change the overall shape and the size of it. I think, like Reno was saying, like you can really get lots of cool mushroom like looks for it. Whatever whatever you're feeling for your game.
Yeah. Cool. So I mean, I'm stoked about it. I'm gonna, in my little notebook, and this is like not. I want to be clear to everyone at home. Like, this is not like a hard and fast like number thing, but like in my little notebook, as I'm writing down numbers, I'm gonna give this an 8 in aesthetics. And then let's get into performance. And I think Max and maybe even Miko, you're gonna help us a little bit there. Kind of like looking at polygon count, looking at UVs, looking at sort of how the thing is constructed, taking it into an actual game environment. How do you feel about the performance or projected performance on this guy, Max?
Let's fiddle with some things and just see how performance monitor. I mean, like it's pretty performant what it is. Like it's got UVs. I'd worry about these gills if it was going into Unreal, just because of how thin they are, but depends on what material kind of technique you want to do. Like everything's sectioned off. The only thing I did notice is this doesn't seem to be connected. It's hard to show. There we go. To the actual undercroft. I don't know if that's a setting that I'm missing. If I come here and I do, where are we? Cap noise. You can see it starting to separate a little bit, which would be a concern because you'd never see the polys behind here, so they're kind of wasted. But like the resolution controls are pretty easy, so you could quite easily bump this up depending on the resolution, vertex density that you want for the game.
Totally.
It's a neat little mushroom generator. Like I dig it.
Cool. All right, performance. I'm gonna give it an 8 as well. And then now we're talking variability. And this is where I mean, I don't know how many shapes we can make. I've seen a lot of different mushrooms in this generator, but I haven't seen like so many wildly variable shapes.
Well, you know what? When you're building mushrooms, to be honest, like you want them to be as uniform as possible to each other to signal like a batch of mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And you're often not going to get a mushroom by itself. And they kind of scale Fibonacci-like in terms of like numbers. So you're going to get patches of mushrooms if you want them to look natural. So that's actually where I see the benefit of this, is that like in a game, I could now paint a forest floor with little mushrooms. How performant are they? What are the, what are the verts? What's the LOD? How many can I get on screen?
That's a good question. And is that something that you're going to be considering throughout Irina? Is just like sheer quantity projected?
Yeah, like how many can I have on screen at once before I break my frame rate?
Yeah, especially because mushrooms inherently, there's always going to be so many of them. So if it's like, and it's not only like, trees, they're tall and some of them might be out of view, but mushrooms, you'll see it on your entire screen. So I think that it will play a big impact on performance.
I mean, one of the coolest things going on right now is we have daffodil days in at Blythewald Mansion down in Bristol, Rhode Island. It's absolutely beautiful. And they have a forest full of daffodils. And imagine a game where, you could have seasonally different flowers popping up or mushrooms popping up. So like you could coat an entire forest floor.
Oh.
So like how close are we to that reality?
Sorry, Sam. I'm just trying to switch over to a wider screen one, so it's a bit easier for us to see.
No
I
worries.
feel like I'm squinting at my screen right now. Share. There we go. And it should be easy for everyone to see the actual parameters now on the stream. There we go.
Oh, great. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, this seems like we have some pretty decent variability. I'm gonna give it a 7 in my little notebook. And then lastly, and Max, this one is really for you since you're on Box right now. Ease of use, like, kind of playing around with this guy, trying to figure out different ways of utilizing it. How would you say it is as a user-friendly tool, just kind of coming right into it without much experience with the tool?
There's some nitpicky things, me being nitpicky with stuff, like having the controls collapse by default and like a little bit more breakup on what things are and what they do might help, but like it's nicely laid out. The only thing that is missing, and kind of going back to the previous point, is you can have controls for the stem resolution. And if anyone, whilst we're talking through these, if anyone is like, oh, it's hidden in here in the chat, please do shout out that I'm missing a button press. But it seems like you can control the control the resolution of the stem, but you can't really control the resolution of the cap, which is kind of an issue. Because if you could pull this down, like you were saying, Irene, you could get a lot more because way less poly density of the thing. There only seems to be controls for the stem.
Yeah, and I do want to real quick switch over to my screen where I'm looking at the work in progress thread that was posted for this mushroom, and we do have one still here of these mushrooms, in a few different variability states in Unreal, and they're looking pretty good.
Wow. No, seriously, that's actually a huge range of like what you would expect of capped mushrooms with that kind of patterning at the bottom, those gills. This is like the amount of variety you can get just from this simple gradient is huge.
Totally. Cool. So I think that feels good for Skate Casey's Funky Mushrooms. Thank you so much for being a part of it, and we will return to this shortly. Max, why don't we move on to the next shroom?
Let's do that. And this is, if someone can pronounce that, please, because I'm very bad at pronouncing things.
I'm going to call it Hippolyte Desfonds.
Infected mushrooms.
Oh, yeah. It's like French. The fond. Okay.
Hippolyta?
Why don't I start with this one? Just looking at what was posted on the Mythica Discord. That's discord.gg/Mythica. Because I think this one is a little bit complex, and this might give us some insight into how to utilize it. So I'm going to switch my screen over. So the goal here was to make an infection system of mushrooms, kind of taking this scary pig head that Houdini likes to model with, and grow some funky shrooms out of it. So here's a little demo video that was posted. All right, so this is like the work in progress. We can kind of bring the umbrella in and out, and then yeah, take a model and sort of like bring. Wow, that's creepy. It's sort of like a Last of Us kind of growing fungus coming out of things.
I see nightmare material.
This is really impressive. This is cool. Scary.
I wonder how much. Yeah. I wonder how much control is given to create this, because it seems like there was a lot of different variation for the way the pig was, like infested by the mushrooms.
Yeah, there. Wow. Okay, it's like intestines growing out.
Fascinating. You should say that. There's so much we can learn from the mushroom world.
Okay, yeah. So here's
This is
the HDA actually in action, Max. This might give you some insight into how we can start playing around with this on Box. Yeah, so I think kind of comes pre-made with a model that then gets destroyed, and then there's all kinds of like funky stuff we can do with it.
Oh, they're in our chat right now.
Great.
Unfortunately, they lost some work.
Hippolyte, we love to see you here. Max, I'm going to switch the screen back to you, and let's start playing around with this guy.
Okay, as they've said in this chat, they lost a lot of the work before they submitted. So then you have kind of the groundwork, I guess.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, so I don't know if you want to judge off the video and the content they posted versus what.
I think we'll definitely take both into account, and yeah, Hippolyte, if you find the work or if you somehow reignite it, please update the package. We would love to see it. But yeah, let's jump in and sort of check out what's going on here.
Seems like there's a nice like auto shattering going on with whatever input you put in to kind of do the infected growth coming out of it.
I see a future world where this could be a really cool like VFX.
Branch counting.
All right.
Really impressive.
This is, I mean, it's really, really cool. And it's funny because within the lore that we've built for Haven, we have developed this story of like something dark has infected like reality and has shattered it. And part of it is that the forces of shadow have literally corrupted all of reality and sunk the world into darkness. And we're trying to like art direct our way into a vision of what does something that feels real but feels off and feels corrupted but isn't horror based or isn't gore based like it is in Diablo. Trying to find that happy medium where it may be a little bit more kid friendly but still cause people to go ew. And oh my god, that's yeah.
That definitely causes me to go ew. Yeah, it's really impressive.
How cool.
Max, do you get the sense that this can grow off of and destroy any model, or is it kind of unique to Big Head or a model?
No, I love using the pig head for testing on things. It's the default. We can put in some cubes.
Yeah, because I could totally see this, growing out of trees or rocks or enemies in any virtual world.
Yeah, but I mean, there's one thing like you're actually animating it, which is really cool with the slider, and it wouldn't appear that way necessarily in game, correct? Like,
no, you'd have to do some
animate it.
FBX. Well, you could do an FBX cache, animated FBX out. See how this handles the capybara. Oh, God.
Oh, poor thing.
Oh, buddy.
Even as a static object, it's kind of horrible.
R.I.P.
In a good way? Question mark.
See, now I put a high res mesh in. It seems like there's a lot of more performance problems. Not problems, performance loss with the capybara versus putting this one in and growing it.
So you're saying that with a higher res mesh, we do get some performance loss here.
Yeah. Which could just be kind of logic workflow within here, because I see he's doing like a simulation frame, which might kind of need to recache every time you go up it. But it's a shame looking from the Discord thread that they did. They lost all the really, really cool growth work they put into it. Hopefully we get to see that back.
It is a major bummer. Let's go back to the Discord thread real quick, because I do want to give that a little bit of attention, because like some of this stuff is just so pretty.
Wow.
Yeah, like that growth is like that one there especially is crazy good.
Yeah. Cool. And then I think aesthetics and performance have a pretty good sense. Aesthetics, like I think this is out of the park, and such a unique idea. Performance wise, like you said, Max, we do seem to have like some hiccups along the way, but generally pretty good performance. In terms of variability, it seems like there's a lot that you can do with this. It can sort of like attach itself to any mesh and sort of like give any give any asset like sort of a new life. So I think that there's a ton of variable ideals for here. And then Max, how easy would you say that this is to use?
I mean, in its current state, yeah, just drag and drop whatever you want to break. It does seem to not want to do the box for some reason. Seems to revert. So I think some, in its current state, some documentation, some kind of pardon me, more breakdowns on the nodes. But again, going back to what they said, they lost kind of where they were. It also seems to be go to the null. None of the other outputs coming out, but in their Discord thread, they were using all 4 outputs. They're using this input, which I can figure out how it works. Kind of bare bones, but does what it does. It would be nice if the simulation frame kind of reset as you scrubbed up and down. You kind of have to like pull back, scrub through, and then if you go back, it doesn't want to refresh.
Mm-hmm. All right, so some more documentation would be nice, and maybe there are some small tweaks with the ease of use, but generally relatively intuitive tool.
Yeah, it does what it says on the tin.
Does what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
Nicely said.
Sweet. Well, Hippo, I'm super excited about this tool. Thank you so much for submitting it. And when you have this updated version with the super pretty mushrooms coming out of it, please upload it and let me know, and we can sort of get the community jamming on it, because this is a really exciting one. Let's jump on to the next project. Next,
this is ML91 mushroom generator.
Did you give Did the other one get a score?
Yes, they did. Do you want me to read it out for you?
Can we do like a quick summary of what the ultimate end score is?
That's a good idea. We can do a quick summary of the ultimate end score. So for this one, I gave the aesthetics a 9. Do you feel good about that? I gave performance a 7. I gave variability a 7. Variability, I gave it a 9, because it can attach itself to so many different assets and really be like a transformative factor. And then ease of use, I gave it as well as 7, as it seemed pretty intuitive, but Max had some small issues. So that is, I'm going to use my calculator because I'm not good at math. So the guy who works for the procedural company, that is 32 overall.
Nice.
Well done, Hippolyte.
Hippolyta.
So let's jump into the next one, Max. This is ML91, also known as Marco the forgotten chicken.
Can we give him bonus points for that name?
We can. We can do whatever we want.
Okay, there's a lot of controls with this, and it does seem it's just one output, so I'm just going to hide that. Start having a look through. Wait, am I still recording? No, cool. This is very performant. Just off the bat.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot you can play with here.
Again, the animation is just so delightful.
The wiggling of the mushroom.
That enough on its own. Yes.
Yeah, it's like it's dancing a little bit. It's like it's already on a rig.
Yeah.
Points.
See, that's nice with the
He
capsize.
does. I want to actually switch real quick to my screen over at the README, where we can see. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. You know, first of all, like it seems performance in Unreal. We have a lot of different photos of the mushroom being sort of like moved in Houdini and then reflected in Unreal, or vice versa. I'm not sure which is which, or I'm not sure which he's moving, but it seems performant in Unreal. This is the one I'm really excited about. It creates a lot of different mushrooms. There's a huge variability here that all look really nice. I'm not sure if you can figure out how to make some of these different shapes happen, Max, but it's there's a lot going on here.
Give it a go.
That's
Very cool.
I like the variation.
Yeah, I love how some of them are more
nice
bowl-like.
Yet there's actually is a mushroom called a robin's nest mushroom that is shaped like a bowl, and it has like little balls on the inside, usually 3 of them. And it looks like a robin's eggs in a nest, but then there's like a whole lot of them. Yeah, you could cover even a lot more ground with this particular.
Totally. Yeah, so here's a little video of the HDA being manipulated in Unreal natively. And so there's this is definitely a tool for game development in a meaningful way, which is really exciting.
Yep, and there are mushrooms that actually have those types of spots and scarring on top. I, for one, welcome our mushroom overlords.
I wonder how
There's the Amanita muscaria.
How much control is there over like?
Sorry.
No worries, sorry. How much control is there over like the bottom of the stem where it comes out of? Because I noticed sometimes it's angled, sometimes it's not really.
After this, if you want to switch back over to mine, Sam, we can mess around.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, let's switch over to Max.
So you're talking about this area down here?
Like the root of it, because I noticed like some like that one in particular is angled, so I was wondering if there's like it's able to adapt depending on the surface it's attached to.
There doesn't seem to be any input to it, so there's no way of like, I know what you mean, like if you were to put a ramp in here with some dispersion, it kind of like growing out of the surface it comes from. Also bonus points for very well organized. Sorry, just accidentally double clicked into that. That's very nicely laid out. Here, see here, stalk. We have sun seeking, which just seems to kind of angle the head. Arena, what would call this part? The cap, right?
Oh, I was muted. Yeah, that's the cap.
You can come right over with it.
Next, we need a slider for that gill pattern underneath. That gill pattern can sometimes be a bunch of little tubules.
Right, he might actually
So
have that with all these many exposed controls.
all those
Yeah,
sliders.
Oh wow, yeah,
you zoom in here.
very impressive.
Mushrooms are the perfect example to demonstrate like the variability of form with
Yeah, I mean it's really
sameness.
amazing the amount of different mushrooms you can make by sculpting with this tool.
I
I'm not
love the
sure how you managed to
skills.
get the.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry,
I was
you
just
can
gonna say
go
I
first.
don't know how he got the cup ones that he had in his pictures, but I'm sure I do not doubt that if you mess with all these sliders, you could do the cup ones that he's got in his final renders. I would on that. I would like to say like if he had some presets, be extra handy. But onto what you're gonna say, Mikhail.
I was just going to say that I love the gills because I think it also acts as a way to be flexible in terms of performance if you want. Like, for example, if you're never going to see the gills underneath, then I think it's like a great option to also be able to remove them if need be.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Like being able to hide certain parts of the asset and just remove it entirely to offset performance is a useful tool.
Mm.
That is smart, Miko.
Would have
Cool.
liked to see a global seed in here somewhere. Just kind of seed everything. You know, once you got it kind of like laid in, just like give me some variations to quickly go through. Just making sure I'm not overlooking a giant seed button, seed slider in here.
Yeah, that would be nice for something like this, especially a tool like this that gives so much variability. Having presets and the ability to like quickly move between seeds would be quite nice.
Oh, that's just getting weird looking.
I think that in the interest of time, we should jump into the scoring a little bit. Yeah.
Quick question though. Can I make a patch of these?
You would have to make and scatter them individually. Looking at this, I can't see any like multiple ones, multipliers.
Yeah, that drops it down a notch for me. Or it's more for like creating fine specimens, but then I'd want to be able to create like scatters of them.
Yeah, you probably need to use a separate tool for that. Yeah, you're right. Some of them did create clusters of mushrooms from the jump.
That was actually like I think a super useful use case.
Yeah, I mean, totally. Do you think that fits into aesthetics or ease of use for you?
Well, ease of use for production,
Totally.
right? I think of things as workflow. So if I have to, like, sometimes too many options actually slows down an artist, right? And you just give them enough variability to create interesting things. And then, but like, you don't need a Leica camera in order to be super creative
That makes a lot of sense.
because it will slow you down. And, if you're going to be delivering content quickly, it's the classic UX rule of keep it simple, stupid. But at the same time, there was still a lot of variability with that tool, so no knocking the other one. But the fact that it had clusters and clustering, like ranks it a notch above over this one.
Interesting.
But I don't know if we're doing relative.
We're not quite yet, but we will get there, and this is interesting to think about. Because I hadn't really considered that point, but yeah, especially looking at bringing mushrooms into game in a real setting, that makes a lot of sense, Irina. So for aesthetics, I think that I think that this is probably the most like objectively beautiful mushroom designer that we've seen so far. I'm tempted to give it a 9. How does everyone feel about that?
I think a 9 for.
Cool. And then in terms of performance, it is very fast. Max, you tell me, but I think
I think the only thing that I would say that knocks down on performance again, and it's probably me being blind, is there's no actual control over the vertex density of it. So like Irina was saying, like it'd be nice to be able to be like, hey, I want a really high res one for like hero mushroom and then a very low res run to do a lot of scattering over. But again, that might be me missing controls. But also on Irina's point, if I can't find the controls to do that, like it is kind of death through sliders.
Fair enough.
One
Fair
slider
enough.
at a
Okay,
time.
so performance, I'll give it an 8. Variability, I think this gets a 10 on variability. You can do so much with it.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh yeah, it's very deep.
Cool. And then the last is ease of use, and I think that that's the thing that we've been coming back to on this tool in particular, is that it doesn't seem so easy to use. Maybe some presets would have been nice. Some seed would have been nice. You know, like we've been dicking around with it a bit here, and now we've got this like freaky mushroom that I don't know if anyone would put into a game.
No, I'm looking at this and I'm like, are you making a flower now? Because I'm having this cognitive connection to like the stamen of a flower and petals coming up. You could probably create a little like again, if this were clusterable, imagine like a meadow full of flowers that then suddenly gets consumed by a mushroom.
Yeah, I
Dum
mean,
dum
there's a
dum.
lot that goes into it.
Um,
But again, we did give variability a 10, so we covered that. We're
yeah.
talking sheer ease of use. If you're a game developer, if you're a budding Houdini artist, whatever it is, coming in to use this tool, I think I'll defer to Max and Mika on this one. Like, how do you feel about this one?
Mikael, do you want to go first? Like, I know you're not using it right now, but
yeah, I mean, based on the HDA, there are a lot of things that are, for example, adjustable. And I like you saying, like sometimes less is more. And I think in this case, I do enjoy some of the small features like that Gills one right there. So, and I think that when it comes to optimizing your performance in that regard, or like customizing that look, I think that it makes it easy. It's like easy to adjust in that tool right there. And I know what you meant about the Irina, about the scattering and stuff. And I think that is a great thing to consider when you're creating these tools and like, making inputs for that. So, and I wonder like, but the thing is, it's like when you're scattering in Houdini and you're exporting directly into Unreal, unless you're doing direct Unreal instancing, then I think that all the mushroom meshes are going to be made into one giant FBX, which could also harm performance. So I think that this kind of tool would work perfect alongside Unreal instancing scatter mushroom tool to some regard.
That's awesome to hear.
yeah, I kind of pretty much agree with what Mikael said overall. I think the only thing that I would say is like a little bit too many controls exposed all at once. Like and like the style is kind of very ambiguous to what they're actually doing some of the time. Like, it would be nice if it was, and like only getting picky on this because it's so good, like it would be good to see kind of like an advanced option on a lot of these that would drop down and then here's all the extra kind of fiddly bits to go into it when you want to give it to an artist and they can just be like, oh yeah, just change these like 5 controls. If you want to go deeper, drop down the advanced option.
Fair enough. So I feel tempted to give this an 8 or 7 or 8 on ease of use. Max, Mikael, what do you think about that?
Can I
Please.
just jump in with a quick little point to a little bit devil's advocate in that as a photographer, if I'm going in there and editing an image, I'm going to want to have as many controls as possible, right? And the fine art is balancing how quickly you can make a mushroom and then how deeply can you configure it if you have time, right? Whereas like it's kind of like the play of a character creator. How long are you going to spend in a character creator before you jump into
Yeah.
an RPG? But at the same time, you want to give the artists the best possible tool, like the people who want to be the mushroom artists. And here, the amount of controls actually opens them up to a world of possibilities.
Yeah, that
So
is a really great
I
point.
agree, Max. Like finding a way to like create shortcut clumps of configurations,
Like,
but then like, oh, if you want a deep dive,
almost as if you had it like this and just the very minimum controls, just 2 here, and then hey, yeah, actually I do want to go into the stalk and like really tune in these small parameters, but like like with the photography analogy, I just want contrast, brightness, and saturation. And I'm going to tweak those, and then I'm going to go into, okay, what should we do in the shadows? What should we do in the highlights? Like,
Yep.
All right.
Those are all great
I'm gonna
points.
say that this gets an 8 on usability. That is a 35 total. This is our highest scoring mushroom so far. Let's jump into the next one, and for the sake of time, I'm just gonna say we should pick up the pace just a little bit.
this is
And I have bad news because I have to jump in a few
Irina, I'm
minutes
aware of
because
this,
I
and we are
have
bummed to see you go.
I'm so sorry.
If you finish whatever you're doing and you see that we're still in here, please jump back in because we'd love to have you for the very end where we decide the winners.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just keep me posted in Discord if you even possibly can, or I'll keep an eye on
Yeah,
the
keep an eye on
stream.
the stream. Send me a
But
message.
yeah,
I'll be here.
um,
Max,
but
what
keep
do we
going.
got next?
I'll just duck out.
This is by Moahid in the Mushroom Lab. You have that on the Discord. It might be good to go through their post first. You can...
Mushroom Lab by Moahid. Cool. Let me scoot over to the Discord, discord.gg/Mythica. Cool. So it's a system that can produce multiple types of mushrooms. Wow, look at these guys.
Oh, whoa.
That is impressive.
Wow. So much variation.
Hugely variable.
That's cool.
I see that and I think, what a beautiful hit on frame rate.
Yeah, well, this guy is incredible.
But look at how cute that one is. It's got
The
a
wizard
wizard
hat.
hat, friends. Look at what can be done with this glorious tool.
Made some fixes, improvement, visibility issues, color errors. Lots still going on. A few more options here. Yeah, there's
Think of the mushroom furniture for the frog village that you could build with
ain't
that.
that the truth? Yeah, so it seems like this is a beautiful HDA with a lot of options. Maybe let's jump back to Max and see what we can actually do with it on box. Oh, there's our wizard hat.
Yeah.
Oh, so delightful. So there's a little bit of whimsy here that lets you go into an Alice in Wonderland direction.
Totally. Yeah, it really brings a lot out.
The performance doesn't seem too bad on the side of things. Like, at least in Houdini. I understand what you mean, Arena, getting this into game, the resolution, but
It's beautiful.
it's nicely swept.
Does it have presets at all? Can you jump between different shapes?
No presets.
No presets.
No presets.
Okay. What does it take to kind of like recreate this shape?
Again, quite a lot of parameters. You got the carve on the top there. You can do different types of kind of scattering on the surface for the different kind of guys. You got a nice color ramp you can do as well.
Very cool.
Cap diameter.
Oh, nice.
Stylized tip. Excuse me. Oh, legacy edit presets apparently here. Oh, here we go. So we got fairy.
Oh, yeah, I love this. Oh, so cool.
I want to put a rig on that and animate it and make it a character.
Yeah, I feel like all these mushrooms act as like great like centerpieces. Like you would want this one to be like the star of the show.
Yeah, these are like real hero mushrooms coming out of this. And yeah,
And you have
I
a
do
gradient.
love that there are presets. I think that adds a ton to usability in my mind. Just because it gives you a place to kind of like jump off of. Whereas like, you know, maybe you'll otherwise spend a ton of time just trying to like mess with the sliders to recreate a screenshot that you saw a couple days ago.
For sure. And I think that a lot of the times artists don't really like if they don't know what their tool is capable of, then I feel like they'll always stay in their box and what they think it can do. But the more you expose artists to all the different types of, you know, variation, then they'll like have that like confidence to become more creative in terms of what they're making.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just by seeing the preset, you now have unlocked like a new ability level just because you're like, oh, this can do that too. Cool. Let me like figure out how to make that happen for myself. Yeah. I think that's a really great point, Michael. I mean, I think this is gorgeous. Max, do we have a sense for the performance? You know, I know that there's some screenshots here that I'm not seeing anything in a game engine at this point. But do you have a sense, you know, of what this might look like in game in terms of performance hits?
I was using vertex colors, so you'd have to do a shader for that, which isn't hard at all. But I'm just trying to see if there's I guess you got LOD level, which is something, but there doesn't seem to be too fine control over how you would reduce a lot of this geometry. Again, probably being blind. There's a setting somewhere, but again, if I can't find it immediately, that's
Is
the
there
kind
a lot of
user
geometry?
interface. To get it up to the level it was up here, of course, you can have a lot of geometry thrown into it.
Yeah.
There is an LOD level on that. Is that adjustable?
Yeah, you can, but it just seems to be pulling down to kind of this level. There's no, which I mean is good. LODs are always great, right?
Yeah, I love having LOD options built into the HDA themselves. So I think that's still bonus points regardless.
Yeah. Grab one of the simpler ones.
I just love this mushroom. I want to like hang out with him. Invite him over for dinner or tea. Cool. Well, I think we should start getting to numbers because we do need to start moving a little bit faster. I think, I mean, maybe
I have to run.
maybe
Good
we'll
luck.
find something that blows us out of the water and we'll give it an 11. But in my mind, this is the prettiest mushroom we've seen so far. So I'll give it a 10 in terms of aesthetics.
Agreed.
Performance, you know, we do have LOD levels. We do have, you know, some, you know, vertex color control. You said, Max. What would you say? I'm going to lead the number to you guys.
I would say it's on par with the previous one. Again, like the previous one didn't have much control over the actual fine resolution, but like you said, Mikhail, like this one has LODs at least set up and kind of integrated into it. So maybe a point higher. Performance seems the same. Like the more geometry you throw at something, the slower it's going to get. So that's kind of what I'm saying. Same as the previous.
I'd say I agree with that.
Cool. So you're saying a point higher from the previous one?
Yeah,
Or something
I would say something similar or a point higher. That's my it's my wavy opinion.
My personal opinion. Okay, cool. Variability. I mean, I think this is just as variable as the previous one, if not more so. I'm giving it a 10. And then ease of use. You know, Max kind of playing around with this guy. I do love that it has presets. That means a lot to me. And you know, it does give you this like super fine control as an artist. How would you characterize ease of use on your end, playing around with it?
It's a bit more nicely laid out than the previous one. It has the presets as well, so at least you can kind of be like, oh, I like we were talking about in the previous one. Like I kind of like, this. Everything's kind of already set up. You can mess with it, like Mikhail was pointing out. You can kind of have a jumping off point.
Yeah, totally. Cool. So I mean, I'm giving it a 9. Overall, this is a 37. This is our highest scoring mushroom so far. We keep blowing the rest of the water. Like, we're leveling up each time. This is impressive. Thank you so much, Mohaid. This mushroom is freaking awesome. I think it's sick. Let's move on to the next one.
So this is Mushroom Scatterer by I think Sarah Usman. Jump into this. There was also I think they were one of the ones in the videos that I sent you. Let me see if I can quickly find it.
Let me check that then.
By Simone.
Oh, this is Simone's. Okay.
Mhm.
Simone's Mushroom Scatterer. Here it is. Let me just jump into my screen real quick.
I think it'll be best because she's got it integrated into Unreal.
Yeah. Cool. So she started with a tool to scatter mushrooms. This is from all the way back in February, showing progress on the tool. Here we have it growing on top of meshes and stuff like that. Growing out of logs, off of trees. Very cool stuff. Let me see if I can open this video. Here we go. So this is a video that she posted showing the tool natively in Unreal. So here we're popping the mushroom in. I mean, first of all, I love that this is built straight into Unreal. I think that's really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And to Irina's point, now we're dealing with a ton of mushrooms at once. This is a very different tool from the other ones that we've been looking at. So the ones have been like straight up like beautiful mushroom sort of hero asset generators. And now we're seeing one that can just like generate a ton of shrooms at once and really do a great job of populating them in a natural environment.
It also looks like they parameterized the material straight into the HDA, which is something that I personally love to do because I think it, like, when you're working actually in Engine, it makes swapping out materials and keeping it consistent really like manageable and easy to use.
Yeah, it really does make the tool as simple to use as possible. And it seems like it's really performing in Engine. There's a lot of mushrooms moving around here.
Yeah, and they've also got the kind of detection for doing the shelf mushrooms. This is where we need Irene to correct us on what the mushrooms are called, but it looks like it's also
We'll
detecting like
mushrooms for now. I mean that does speak to variability as well. The fact that we have rings of mushrooms going in the ground, we have big shelves coming up and down. It's cool. And then okay. Yes, there's a lot to talk about here. Max, I'm curious what you're discovering over in Houdini, if anything.
Yeah, if you want to jump over. Do you think this is just more focused on powerful scattering and kind of like Irene talked about at the beginning, just being able to fill an area with these mushrooms? You can do, so you can pull in the shelves on the side here. Let me just quickly. Oop. Lights. Let's add another one, so we can do 2. Of course, I'm not going to be able to show off the material work that they've done.
Yeah, I think we did get a sense for that in the video that we just watched, and we can go back to that as well.
So I noticed there's like you can add additional mushroom types that are being scattered here.
Yeah, so you can add a few. You can add pretty much as many as you want in a multi-param by the looks of things. So we can do different head types.
Could you bring in other mushrooms? Could you bring in mushrooms from the previous tools that we've seen into this one?
Let's see. Does not look like there's inputs. So there's inputs for the terrain. There's inputs for the area that you want to scatter on. So if I move this box, updates where you wish these things to be scattered, which is a nice little feature of kind of controlling the area.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like you can give it custom meshes. Oops.
Okay. That would be, I think, a really exciting addition to the tool.
Yeah, 100%. Like using an object merge node. And I think that, yeah, like being not only being able to input custom meshes, but I would love to be able to, like I mentioned earlier, to see Unreal instancing, like maybe have a preview toggle so that you can view it in Houdini itself, but like something with Unreal instancing just to make it more performant. I don't think that would be a knock on this, but I think that if anyone is out there considering making scattering tools, that's like something I would implement, for example.
Yeah, I mean, or I just want to call the fact that this is open source, and so somebody can just like make that addition to this scattering tool and not have to redo all the work and make it better for everybody.
Yeah, I think there's good legs here for more scattering. Like the mushroom controls itself are very basic. Like the material work, like you point out, Mikhail, being able to quickly swap around what's actually on the things is really cool, but there's not too much to the mushrooms themselves. I'd like to see as well, like you've got this shelf mushroom spawner. You got some clustering controls, which is also nice for it. But like, what if I do want these guys to grow kind of coming out the sides of this versus the shelves sticking to specific areas?
True, like adding more control for that.
Especially if you're using a multi-param, being able to actually have like, okay, these mushrooms can grow between this angle and this angle. These mushrooms grow from this angle to this angle. And you can just keep on loading in details into this. Like, okay, now take ambient occlusion into account, growing the recesses, growing like the cracks more than these other competitive mushrooms.
Yeah, 100%.
Sweet. Yeah. Okay. Let's jump into numbers, guys. So I mean, I think that this one is pretty interesting because it's like we're gonna grade on the same rubric, but we kind of need to like take it into consideration. That's a different type of tool than what we've been dealing with before. So in terms of aesthetics, I think that this is a really interesting tool. I think that it actually does fundamentally the thing that Irina was initially excited about, which is like realistic and meaningful scattering of mushrooms over game areas. And I think it looks really cool doing it. I just want to return to this video real quick and kind of like get a sense for the end product.
Yeah, slapping the texture on it, I think that aesthetically it like fits right into the environment.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that these look really great in game. So aesthetics, I'm gonna say a 9. How do we feel about that?
I would bump it down just because of the mesh
Okay.
quality. But again, if we're doing it for scattering, like the scattering is very pleasing. So I would say about an 8.
Okay, great. This is why we keep you here. And performance, how do we feel about that? Obviously it's a different type of tool, but this is able to hold a lot of mushrooms at once, and it seems to be, not breaking the bank in terms of its production load.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be too laggy, but I feel like you could get it faster for what it's actually doing. You'd have to do I think it's one of those things where you'd have to dig into it and see, like you were saying, Mikhail, like is it instancing these on points? Is it building it individually per point? How much unique? It does seem like there's scattering actually. If I go into wireframe, good. I'll give it like an 8. Again, like not much control over the actual resolution of the assets, and potentially if these are all instanced, be nice to be able to cluster them and kind of have it as one unique mesh per area, because then it's one draw call for this little cluster of mushrooms.
Fair enough. Okay. And then variability, it's interesting because like we have a ton of variability in the scattering, but this variability of mushrooms themselves is pretty low. So how would we want to assess that?
I mean, I think that there's in terms of like the actual mushrooms themselves, there's less control, but I love the fact that like built into the tool, you're able to make multiple presets that are able to be used for scattering. So I think that it's like variability, but in like a different way in comparison to the other tools.
It definitely is variability in a different way. And I do want to give it credit for that, because like it is trying to do something different, and it's something that is incredibly valuable, especially in the context of mushrooms. So I mean, I feel like I want to give it a little bit of a bump on variability, if nothing else.
I agree.
So yeah, maybe an 8 or a 9. How do we feel about that? Do we have a preference?
I think an 8 is a good number, because I think there's still a little bit more room that it can be improved, but it's still great work.
Cool. And then lastly, ease of use. Max kind of like playing around with this. I do like that it's all designed to be native in Unreal. I think that's very meaningful to the ease of use. How do you guys feel?
I think the controls of that. I think like it would be nice to see more controls. This is kind of like the opposite of the problem from the other ones. It's like, yeah, the baseline's there, but being able to see, like Mikhail pointed out, like a preview option, being able to kind of like control the angles that these things grow on.
Sure.
Could we say 8, maybe? Mikhail, like what do you think on this?
I think that's a good number, because I still I think the presets also factors into the ease of use in terms of like how much variation can you get with just one tool, and easily it's very easy to do it. It's just add another mushroom type and it's ready to go.
Sweet. Okay, so that's 8 across the board for Simone, giving her a final score of 32. Thank you, Simone, for your contribution. Let's jump into the next guy. We have 2 more contestants to go through.
This is Powell. Powell.
I think it's Pavel.
There we go. This is me being dyslexic and terrible at pronouncing things. So,
cool.
Do you want to put up the thread for this?
Yeah, so let me pull it up real quick. Cool. Here's the thread for this. These are looking really beautiful.
Yeah, really gorgeous renders. Looks like it's directly in Unreal 2, I think, based on the viewport. Or no, wait, that's Houdini. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really impressive. And we have a little video here. Okay, so there is a seed changing. And there's a lot that we can do with it.
Something that hasn't been demonstrated yet, but I'm curious to how they did is like how they applied the materials, if they had to, like how they specifically custom made it to work with these mushrooms. Because it looks like there's a little bit of gradient going on the cap, for example.
Here's a tutorial video. I'm not going to turn the sound on for this one right now, but it's pretty comprehensive tutorial, it seems, which is really awesome to see.
Yeah, I think that bumps up points for ease of use because like I think that having documentation is huge.
I think so too. It's major, and we've already seen this. You know, like being able to come in and play in this meaningful way is really cool. Cool. So let's jump into Houdini and check it out, Max.
Seems pretty performant from messing around. Wish we had Irene back so that she can say if this guttation is the actual word for these little spheres on the top, but I'm gonna assume it is.
It's a very specific word.
Like, we need Slater here to kind of do the final vote on like, are the naming conventions correct for what parts of these
I think that for the sake of everyone's sanity, we will just say whatever words we say and trust that they are close enough to right.
Yeah. Performance wise though, I think Houdini is just locked up messing with this. So yeah, it just locked because I probably pumped this too high. Oh, here we go. We're back.
We're back.
Yeah, which again, please, if you're in the chat and I'm being blind to where the resolution setting is, shout at me. But again, no resolution settings really. There we go. Geo subdivides, which is an okay way of doing it, but being able to kind of specify the resolution is always going to be a lot nicer. Because again, there's no control over for this veil. I do like these kind of set them as buttons instead of toggles. It's a really nice way of kind of laying this all out.
Yeah, it's quite cool. What happens when you change the C at the top, Max?
Yeah, dancing mushroom.
It doesn't change it as dramatically as I would think, though.
Yeah, I wonder if there's extra seeds. Try to find the cap shape, actually.
Max, do you have any experience with how the buttons work once integrated into Unreal itself? Because I know that sometimes, the Houdini engine plugin has some, fallbacks.
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. I haven't actually messed with that before, so there might be issues with that as well. I mean, looking at the videos, this hasn't been pulled into Unreal yet as well. So there might be things in there, like performance-wise as well, like, looking at the resolution, this is okay, but not having control over this is going to make it pretty much to the point where you don't want to have a veil on it, unless it's a hero asset.
Yeah.
Also, I don't really want to click this thing. At least he's giving us the heads up that it says slow right next to it. So I'm gonna back off. Sorry if this is the really cool feature, but I don't trust my little laptop to not melt down over this. It's got the melting, which a lot of the other people have done.
I do love that
Cool.
for sure.
I like how it kind of like globs on. You got geocolor, which is nice.
You know, something to think about too is that like we do have categories for stylized and photorealistic, and I suppose this definitely fits into stylized. Though it does have like a level of detail to it that makes it, you know, in my heart feel quite realistic.
Somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between, right? It's kind of the uncanny valley area.
Yeah, it's hard because
I want to be clear.
Yeah. And like, you know, all stylized variation has to come from somewhere, right? So I feel like that's always why it's sort of leaning towards realistic.
Yeah,
I mean, like, you know, in that in between.
I would say it leans towards realistic. So guys, in the interest of time, let's assign some numbers. I think we play with this a bit. Aesthetics, I think this is a really beautiful one. You know, I would definitely put it in the top tier of aesthetic mushrooms that we've seen today. How do you guys feel?
I definitely think so. Like, I think there's based on what I've seen with the HDA, there's a lot of control over being able to add what's on top of the mushroom, the veil, and other parts.
Yeah, and I mean, even going back to you know, to these pictures, like it's especially with some good lighting, like these are some really beautiful hero mushrooms. Cool. Aesthetics, I'm gonna give it a 9. Performance, I know Max, you had some issues, you know, playing with Houdini, with it in Houdini, and then with you know, the level of detail in it.
I think that's where I would have to kind of rank it. Not low, but low compared to the others. There's not much control to kind of get the performance reined in, and it's quite easy to kind of overtax it.
Yeah.
And if we're thinking of this as an Unreal product at the end of the day, where you'd want to be able to put it into engine quite quickly, having that be an plus. I mean, like Mikhail, you may have had it as well in Unreal, where you accidentally set a button or a slider too high, and it's like, cool, I'm not coming back from this
Yeah.
loop.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can't
cool.
press escape in
So perhaps a 7 on performance.
Yeah, because it's like it's not bad performance. It's just more exposed controls, more kind of locking parameters down, so they can't be accidentally over ramped. Would be good.
Cool. And then variability. This seems like relatively variable, maybe not quite as variable as others that we've seen.
Yeah, I do like that there isn't an overabundance of controls, and I do like the layout, which helps with the variability, being able to easily get to where you want to change things. But
yeah,
I don't think it's as variable as current like top runners.
Yeah, and I do think what you just called out maybe fits a little bit more into ease of use than anything else.
Yeah. I think that it has great ease of use, but I think for variability, I'd throw it at either a 6 or a 7, depending on what you guys are thinking.
Yeah, I feel like let's give it a 7. And then ease of use, you tell me. This seems like actually one of the easier to use HGAs that we've seen. You know, it's not overwhelming with the parameters that it gives you, and you know, the fact that you can change seeds and then go from there is pretty meaningful in my mind.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Pavel is actually here in the chat, and he said that the melting feature is actually a true thing that happens to mushrooms. I didn't know that, but that's pretty sick. A and B, it sort of pushes this towards realistic in my mind, which I think is where this guy kind of sits in my head. So I think this is pretty good on ease of use. As we're saying, you know, maybe an 8 or even a 9. How do we feel?
I would actually, I feel like leaning towards a 9 a bit, just because if everything's nicely laid out, you're not kind of smothered under controls.
Yeah.
True.
What do you think, Mikhail?
I'm almost leaning more towards 8 because I wish this was tested on Unreal, because I want to see how the buttons would work. And I don't see any options for manipulating like the overall texturing and how they achieve that look. I see some geocolor in like just the melting, I think. So that's something like I I think when working in engine and
Yeah.
trying to get the mushrooms to work, it might be a little bit more difficult.
Cool. I think that is fair. Let's give it an 8. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. All right, so this gives him a total score of 31. And let's move on to the final of the eligible contestants.
This is Irene Howard.
This is Irene
Mushroom Drop.
Howards. That's correct.
I'm gonna pull up the Discord.
Dun, dun, dun. I am looking for it now.
This one, right off the bat, I would say that based on how it looks, I think this already looks like it'd be great to use it in terms of mass. Like I think based on the topology, you could have a lot of these, and it seems to have a lot of stylized variation as well. So good performance, just right straight off the bat, I'd say.
Yeah. So Irene was initially going for this kind of look, like a lantern inside of a mushroom inside of a lantern vibe, and from what I understand, she didn't quite get to the lantern, but we do have the mushrooms. They grow off of objects, it seems. There are UVs on it. Yeah, not too much detail in the work in progress thread, but let's jump into Houdini and see what happens.
Let's go through things then. Let me just pull this out. Put an input into this. We'll see if there's anything that controls over. Cache input. Nope.
Okay, so this is dripping like the other ones are.
Very minimal controls over what we see here.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's very
pretty
quick to get stylized.
Yeah, it's a pretty basic, quick, stylized mushroom generator. You can't do multiple mushrooms in this, can you?
Not that I can see. Again, they're in the chat. Or
yeah, because I did see.
I think I'm missing.
Just returning to Discord really quick. I did see this guy, which makes me feel like there is the ability to have multiples.
There's also inputs to this. Is there no templates, presets? No, nothing coming through with this. So I wonder if this is potentially incomplete, or maybe the wrong, not the most up-to-date HDA. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we have a pretty good sense for it. It also has UVs on it, it seems, or at least can.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, that means something in terms of performance. Let's jump into the numbers. Aesthetically, I think this is a pretty simple mushroom creator. I think you have to drop your own colors and textures onto it. But yeah, it makes pretty mushrooms pretty quickly.
Does do that. I think for this is one of those good ones for what we were talking about earlier, like quickly scattering a lot of things. Like the resolution's kind of nice. Again, there's no control over it, but like it's stylized and low res in the right kind of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely at the point where it doesn't need too much control over like the resolution.
Yeah, I mean, aesthetically, I think it looks pretty nice. I think that maybe a 7 or an 8 on this guy. Like it's a pretty simple stylized mushroom, but I think that it gets the job done for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then performance, we're feeling pretty good about it from what I'm getting off of you guys.
Yeah, this is definitely something I would use on a large scale.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Let's give it a 9. Variability, it doesn't seem like it's so variable. That's one kind of thing about this tool is that it seems like it can kind of make one kind of mushroom, with some variation there, but it's not making a whole gamut of different kinds of hero mushrooms.
Yeah, I think for the basic, again, we need Slater or Irene here. The basic mushroom style of whatever these capped ones are, it does the job. But other than that, especially with like some of the controls don't seem to be plugged in, so you can't get rid of the drips.
Yeah, I do want to shout out Pavel in the chat who discovered for us that the drips are called deliquescence.
It's a very elegant name.
So it does have deliquescence, which I think is cool. Deliquescence is a process whereby the pileus liquefies itself to allow the spores to escape. The pileus starts liquefying itself at the margin, and then it goes on. But I'm not going to read all of that. So yeah, the pileus is liquefying itself. It's creating deliquescence. I like that it's here, but it's not so variable. I'm going to call it a 7 on variability. And then ease of use. This seems like pretty simple and easy to use. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it does the job. Like the controls laid out. Again, some of them aren't plugged in. Like few of these. Oh, Irina's back.
Oh ho! Welcome back, Irina.
Hi, dripping mushroom friends.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you back. You caught us just in time. So this is actually the final mushroom right here. And then we're gonna go into judging.
Nice.
So you got here just in time. Yeah. So this is Irene's mushroom. We're just finishing up. We're discussing its ease of use, which seems pretty easy to use. Is that right? It's not so variable. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, does the drip toggle work that you just clicked?
No.
Okay. I think that's something I would factor into the ease of use.
Yeah.
If you're gonna put in a toggle, make it work.
Same with there's like ring height, which doesn't seem to be hooked up, and there's a seed for the drip, which seems to affect everything instead of just the drip.
Let's call it what it's really called, which is deliquescence.
Oh, sorry. You can pronounce that for me. I'll just cue you up because I'm not. Well, there you go. This is named wrong. It should be
Yes, yeah, that's actually a problem with HTA. Cool. So ease of use, maybe an 8, 7, 8. Give me a number.
Yeah, I'll say an 8. I'll give it an 8. Like it's everything's laid out there. It's just a few things aren't plugged in for the amount of controls there are, but it does what it does.
All right. Okay, guys. So that was the final mushroom for us to like really dig into. We do have the Mythica mushrooms, but we are running low on time, so
I will play them in the background once you guys do the final judging.
Yeah, sure. We might actually want to like jump around though, back to the mushrooms that we already spoke about as we're doing the judging.
to funky mushrooms.
While we're going through them, do you know which, if any of the participants are students as well, so that we can take that
Yes, so I
into
do
account?
know that 2 of the participants are certainly students. Those participants are Simone, who did the mushroom scattering tool, which Irina you missed, but we'll kind of show that off for you a little bit. I think you're gonna like it. It does exactly what
Ooh.
we wanted. And then Irene, who did that final mushroom that we just looked at, is also a student. There might be more, and if you are a student or you know that other contestants were students, please shout it out in the chat. But that is my understanding.
How do you want to go about, I guess, figuring out who fits into what category? Should we say like maybe each of us choose one that stands out for each category and maybe go from there? Or do you
Yeah,
take a
I
different
think
process?
that makes sense, and then the best overall and the best community choice we'll kind of deal with at the end. So I think that really what we should do right now is kind of like, and it's gonna be tough as we kind of discuss, but to kind of group these into 2 buckets in our head, which are stylized and realistic. Those are, and maybe they're not the perfect categories, but they are what we're working with. There's going to be a winner for best stylized and a winner for best photorealistic. So I think it's worth kind of like digging into that just a little bit, right? So this first one I think is more on the side of realistic. This was Skate Casey's. These feel like realistic shroomies to me.
I would potentially argue the other way.
That's why we have you here.
Just-
So
just- I like arguing with you, so-
looking at these guys here, like these are pretty stylized. I see what you're saying.
True,
I
but
would
that
say that
also,
these are true to life. Sorry.
No, sorry. I think you make good points.
I think these are like kind of in between. I think without texturing, it's kind of hard to tell. Like, with stylized, like we kind of talked about before, it's
style often comes down to texture materials.
Yeah, and I think that inherently a lot of these procedural tools don't include the texturing aspect though, unless it's some of it was texturing like mesh detail. But I think that like in this case, like Irina said, like I think that overall, like without texturing taken into account, I think it does edge towards a more like realistic side.
I think that's true, and I think we have some very strong contenders in stylized. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to sort of like put this more into the realistic bucket.
+1.
Let's so I mean, so let's I'll kind of make a note and call this like into realistic. And then the next one is Hippolyte's tool. This guy is stylized for sure.
For sure.
And I would argue that his original posts more towards realistic or fantasy realistic, with the kind of the growing and the tendrils growing out of everything.
You're not
again,
wrong.
It kind of goes down to texturing.
And you could make a
But I
great
think with
Stranger
how it
Things
is-
game with that.
Yeah, or like
this
Last
does
of
look
Us.
like it has a realism
Yeah.
to it. It's an interesting point.
But I think in its current state, I would lean towards
untoggle edition mode.
okay, that puts us into this mode.
Hold on, we can't see your screen, Max.
Oh, we're going back to Max.
Yeah, can we go back?
Edition mode.
Does it give us extra outs? I think it does actually give us extra outs. Give me a second to reset this up. No, I would have to. I would have to mark it lower on the performance. How long that
What is
that
that?
bit just took, but I think this is our pig split in half. Give me a second here. Put merge.
Where's our pig head? Developing live on camera is never high pressure.
Here we go.
But that's not realistic to how mushrooms function.
Yeah, I would say this is stylized. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Cool. The next one is Marco Forgotten Chickens. This was our this guy. I would say this guy is on the realistic spectrum. It does a lot of like pretty realistic mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that is Mohides. This guy is stylized. I've never seen that mushy in the world.
For sure.
Simone's scattering tool, which I just want to show off to Irina real quick, because I think you're gonna like it, Irina. I'm gonna find it on Discord real quick. Where'd it go? There we go.
I see this as an environmental design tool.
Yes, it very much is so.
Yeah, I think if you can pull up that video.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah, so the idea is that this is really a tool focused on mushroom scattering. So you can add a bunch of meshes to the scene, and then it like naturally scatters them around.
Oh wow. That's awesome.
It can grow on top of trees and logs. It can even grow like shelf mushrooms like that.
Wow. That is so cool.
Yeah,
You're right.
I knew
I'm
like
losing my mind.
yeah, so I mean this is realistic. There's no doubt about it.
No, the amount of like the variety of the turkey tail versus the Amanita style, like from the same tool. Are you kidding?
See, this is why we have you here.
Yeah, this is the terminology we've been practicing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Cool. And then Pavel's tool. This is one where we actually were debating this a little bit, whether this was like more towards the realistic or the stylized side.
Where's the wizard hat one?
We already looked at that
PG.
one. But yeah, we have like this guy, like they're very well lit here, but it is stylized, I would say. There's a realistic, like I've seen this mushroom in the woods for sure.
Yes. That very one actually. And that one in the grass.
Yeah.
It looks like a Liberty Bell. Just make the rim black and it is a Liberty Bell.
Yeah, so maybe these are realistic, in fact.
I would lean towards realism because that seems the direction he's tried to put it towards, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Okay, and then Irene's is stylized. Okay. So we have
and also he pointed out the word for the drips. So if he knows the word for the drips, it's got to be realism.
You're not wrong. Okay, so let's speaking of realism, let's sort of like dig into the best photorealistic guy out here.
Photorealistic or functionally realistic?
I think that it can be either. I think that it's like if we're I think the lens that I would like to use is like if we are making a game to create a realistic environment that incorporates mushrooms, which tool do we think is the most effective?
I would say ML91. I think being able to kind of have all that control.
Yeah,
over,
like the fact that we can make all of these guys with one tool is pretty spectacular.
yeah.
Mikhail, Irina, how do you feel about that?
I agree,
I
but
think
then the mushroom scatterer.
It is Mikhail. What do you got?
I was gonna say, are you saying, are we trying to choose one for best overall, or are we just looking?
No,
for
we're
one?
trying to choose best realistic.
Best realistic. I would want to. I think that this I would say is also great for best realistic, but I would also almost advocate it for best overall as well.
We will get to that.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. I just think it's weird because it's like if we choose realistic, but then we want to switch it to overall after. I just wasn't sure how we were.
well, so people come in multiple categories.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And we can decide whether we want that to happen. But yeah, I think people can win multiple categories, and I mean, that's a good point actually. Like, do we want to just decide best overall at the start and then go down from there, or do we want to decide the others and then decide best overall from the jump?
Oh, but it's the Oscars. You do the overall last.
That's what I thought. Okay, so I think that yeah, Marco's ML91. This feels like the we can just, there's so much variability here. They all look beautiful.
But the mushroom scatterer.
So I would actually advocate that the mushroom scatterer, and we can, maybe he's like skipping a beat, but Simone is a student, and that feels like a very powerful student project.
I agree.
Yes, please, because that's some amazing work.
Yeah.
Like it made me giddy.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so I think that we have two winners already here. ML91.
I mean, like
Yeah, Max,
if
please.
you think about these two combined, like if Simone could integrate random meshes, like
could integrate
these
mesh
random
recording
meshes
into the mushroom scatter and bring this one into that one,
mushrooms
out of this world, right? Because scattering was one of the things that we sort of docked this tool for. So we can combine the tools and sort of make something really powerful. That's incredible.
It's almost if they're open source,
ultimate mushroom generator.
What was that? Ultimate mushroom generator, is that what you said? Online.
Sorry, Max.
Cool.
No,
Okay.
I was just saying is if it's almost if they're open source, you could go in and combine them yourself or expose the things that you want to expose on them.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're gonna do. But for now, I'm confident saying the best realistic mushroom generator of mushroom makers is ML91, also known as Marco, the Forgotten Chicken. Congratulations. I'm also confident in saying that the best student project is the mushroom scatter made by Simone.
Yes. Nicely done, both of you.
Nicely done, both of you. And now let's get into best stylized, which I think is going to be a lot of contention. I
We like
frankly,
spicy, especially spicy mushrooms. Sorry.
I think there is a pretty clear front runner in our like beautiful wizard hat guy. That just has a ton of variability and makes some really beautiful shrooms. But there's also some cool other stuff out there. I think that the destruction mushroom growing out of pig head thing is pretty exciting.
It's a vibe.
What do we think, guys? Max, maybe let's roll back a little bit to some of these tools. I'm gonna go back to your screen.
Yeah, I think the infected mushroom one is pretty cool, but like the usability in Unreal with how long this kind of takes to process kind of docks points on it for me. I know this is kind of like we're revisiting it late now because of the edition mode and kind of stuff, but like then lack of controls to kind of tune this down so you can quickly build out something in Unreal kind of hurts it. Because this is like super cool. It's more of a offline render, in my opinion, at this point, than Unreal. So performance will kind of get a knock.
Okay, fair enough. Let's look back at Mohad's stylized shroomies. Yes, there's a lot going on here, and this can really do so much.
I know he mentioned in the chat that there's a version of this that he's very good to submit this version and then continue doing updates, but keep them separate. So I know he said that he's exposed a lot of things in the updated version as well, which we can't judge on, but like it's good to see that like he's not continuing developing with it.
Yeah, you know, look, I mean, I love this tool. Just this mushroom alone makes me like so happy in my heart. I'm gonna throw something out here and tell me how you guys feel about it. Personally, I would vote this tool for best overall. And with that, I would maybe even give best stylized to another tool. Possibly even the mushroom growing out of heads guy. How do we feel?
I think I agree with this being potentially best overall, just because this is just colors at the moment on it. You could easily texture this. I mean, let me just pull up the UVs, which I think UVs. Okay, there's no UVs actually. Destroys my point that I was trying to make. But you know, this is a baseline to make it into something real. You know, make it something to realize. It kind of comes from stylized, which always is the best way of conveying language and conveying like imagery. So the little bit of lift that you'd have to do on this, and again, we haven't seen what he's done with the updates, which I know we can't judge him, but potentially is already fixed. Throw some UVs on this, throw some realistic texturing, and like take off the wizard cap. I mean, never know. Are there mushrooms that look like this? You never know.
There aren't really, not in this particular form. However, one of the things that I like about it for the sake of stylized is that all the dots on the cap are uniform. They're all clean circles. They're not jagged objects made to create variation. It's kind of a cleaner polka dot vibe, which takes me more into an illustrated world, like something that feels like pen tips, which is where, we would go with Haven. Um, I think, you know, being able to take that scatterer and plug in any of these mushrooms into the scatterer tool, um, and then, add it to kind of the variety there is maybe the ultimate mushroom mushroom maker experience for environmental design. But the whimsy in this is so cool.
Yeah, the whimsy in it is what puts it over the edge for me. And the fact that you have so many
Walter
different
Mitty.
variations.
Walter Mitty says you can add noise to the dots. But I would say that that's an anti-goal. We want like more uniform for stylized, something that feels like it can be drawn rather than nature created it.
I think it is good that they give more control to the artist though. Like, so whoever's, working with it, like in your case, this is perfect for you since you want to do that. But I think, let's say another person does want to have those spots have more noise. And I think, very dynamic.
Oh,
but,
you can get it raised too.
Lots of, I think, variability in terms of artist control.
I like that.
I think as well, like extra points, like he's done the lot levels. Like there's consideration to kind of game dev performance in it.
True, and the presets.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot to love about this. And yeah, I mean, that's my vote. I mean, I don't know where the team is at. We do have some notes in the chat. People chiming in. UVs are pretty vital. The fact this doesn't have UVs might be a knock against it.
That's fair.
It is fair.
May hate to do it, but there's no UVs.
And Forgotten Chicken's tool does have UVs. We can that's for certain, because he just told us in the chat.
So it's more production ready. That's an important requirement.
It is an important requirement. Let's go back to Forgotten Chicken's tool real quick. And I know that we do have a stop in 5 minutes, so we need to decide these pretty quickly.
Materials down here.
So then is this one the best overall?
It might be. Walter Mitty, what do you mean that it has a tool for each section? I see you in the chat. I'm curious what you mean by that. Oh yeah, okay. So we kind of add some materials and stuff to this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. You can texture it.
Yeah, I feel like this. If I've got to vote, because I've got 4 minutes before I do have to disappear, this would be my best overall, and Mohid's would be my best stylized. Because if you're doing stylized vertex colors, like you just vertex colors, you're done.
I'm actually coming around on this idea, especially if we're talking about production readiness. And I want to take one more look actually at Pavel's tool, if we can.
Where was that one?
And I want to look at this with an eye for it possibly being our best realistic if we do end up giving best overall to Forgotten Chicken. You know, this can do a lot, and it makes some like pretty like high quality looking realistic mushrooms. And I keep coming back to these pictures, and they really do impress me. And you know, granted, there's like some really impressive lighting in these, but you know, that would be the true of any, you know, production ready asset anyway.
For realistic.
It's highly realistic. Like these look like I would really see them in the forest.
The slime really sells it.
I feel like there was more ambition towards realism with this one, especially like looking at the skirts, kind of transparency, like the texturing on it. Like I feel like if I was to use either of this or Chicken's one, I feel like I could bake this and put it into Painter and do a little bit of touch up and be like, there's a fully realistic one ready to go.
Yeah, it does have UVs as well. Okay.
We gotta decide.
I like
We have
this for
2
best
minutes of
realistic,
maximum
and I feel comfortable bumping up ML91s to best overall.
I support this.
And then best stylized is of course Mohaids, because that shit fucking rocks, and I just love that whimsical wizard hat so much. Do we feel good about this? Are we comfortable? Can I announce it? Oh wow, we have fireworks. This must be true. Okay, so I feel comfortable. I'm gonna announce it right now. The best overall, the winner of Mushroom Makers is ML91, also known as Marco, the Forgotten Chicken. The best photorealistic, and that was a winner of $4,000. So congratulations, Marco.
Well, we don't have that matched on the screen. It's a
No,
different
we
one
don't
that
have
we
a match
have
on
on
the
the
screen.
screen.
Hold on, let me grab it. The best overall, ML91 Forgotten Chicken, winner of $4,000. Congratulations, Marco. The best realistic mushroom goes to Pavel, winner of $2,000. Congratulations, Pavel. The best stylized mushroom goes to a personal favorite of mine, Mohaid. Like, these are freaking awesome. Like, oh my god, this is my favorite guy. Another
There she
$2,000
is.
to the Amazing Wizard hat. And then the best student, winner of $1,000, Simone, with her epic mushroom scattering tool.
Love it. I love this one so
And then,
much.
guys, we have 13 people in the chat.
Congratulations.
It was 26 at one point. I feel like the community choice, we should take a poll on the Discord. How do people feel about that one? We'll take a poll in the Discord. By the end of the weekend, people will have to vote, and then the winner of that will be community choice. Do we feel good about that? Pavel, I agree. The wizard hat guy is my favorite too. Wow, these were such incredible submissions, such awesome mushrooms. Everybody can check out all of these tools, open source. You can use them, you can download them, put them in your game, put them in your project, whatever you want to do. They are at api.mythica.gg. You can also go to discord.gg/mythica, where you can get involved in this competition and more. There's more competitions coming. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. So excited to have Mushroom Makers in the books. Irina Pereira from Unleashed Games, thank you so much for being here. Mikhail from Turtle Tech Art, all the pleasure in the world. Max, you are a king. We love you. Thank you for riding Houdini for us. To everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here. For all the mushroom makers, the people who submitted and the people who didn't submit and still started making a tool and didn't end up finishing it. If you want to submit it and have it in the open source, we'd love to have you. Even if it's just like half a tool, please submit it. We'd love to see it in there. Maybe someone can pick it up and run with it. And yeah, thank you everybody for being here, and we will see you next time around the block. Be well, thank you, and enjoy the mushrooms. See y'all later.
Mushroom, 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 mushroom.